Imagine sitting in a serene, quiet room, yet your mind is anything but calm. Thoughts of worry, fear, and doubt pull you in every direction. You attempt to focus, but the chaos within only grows louder. Sound familiar? How often do you find yourself overwhelmed by anxiety, trapped within your own racing thoughts? What if there was a way to calm this storm and find peace, even amid the busiest, most chaotic moments of your life? Anxiety affects all of us at some point. It's that tightening in your chest, the constant dread of what might happen tomorrow, or the fear of what others think of you. In a world full of unpredictability and heavy expectations, it can feel impossible to escape the grip of anxiety. But what if, like any storm, the anxiety you feel could eventually pass? Buddhism offers a powerful perspective on anxiety, showing us that much of it arises from the way we relate to our thoughts, our feelings, and even to ourselves. The restless mind, ever seeking comfort, is often at the root of much of our suffering. Through Buddhist teachings, we can learn how to untangle these knots and discover a path to lasting peace. Take a moment to think about how you typically respond when anxiety strikes. Do you fight it, ignore it, or try to push it away? What if instead there was a way to simply sit with it, understand it, and let it pass without being consumed by it? Welcome to a transformative journey. In this video series, we'll explore how Buddhist wisdom can help you manage anxiety. We'll learn how to practice mindfulness, find calm amidst chaos, and free ourselves from the patterns that keep us stuck in cycles of worry. We know there are countless perspectives here, but only a small fraction of viewers subscribes. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Insightful Journey. Your support empowers us to continue delivering valuable insights to improve your life. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. We are in this journey together. The Mind Storm, understanding the origins of suffering. There's a powerful saying in Buddhism: the mind is everything. What you think, you become. It's simple, yet profound. When it comes to anxiety, we often view it as something that happens to us, something outside our control. But in reality, anxiety is often something we create. It starts within us, with our thoughts, the stories we tell ourselves, and the way we perceive the world. Imagine your mind as a calm lake on a peaceful day. The surface is still, but as soon as a pebble is dropped in, ripples appear. Now, imagine every anxious thought as a pebble. Each worry, each fear, sends out a ripple, causing the mind to become more turbulent. Over time, the more we allow these thoughts to stir us, the larger the storm becomes. The Buddha once taught that suffering is a natural part of life. He called it dukkha. But dukkha isn't just the obvious pain we associate with major events, such as the loss of a loved one or the end of a relationship. It also includes the subtle restlessness that lives within us every day, the anxiety that bubbles up when things aren't perfect, the worry about the future that never stops, the unease we carry even when everything appears fine on the surface. This subtle suffering is often tied to our attachment to the world around us and our desire to control it. The more we try to control, the more restless we become. When we feel anxious, we are often attached to a specific outcome or desire. We want things to unfold in a particular way, and when they don't, anxiety arises. Reflect for a moment. Can you recall a time when you felt anxious? Was it because something wasn't going as you'd hoped? Perhaps you were worried about something that hadn't even happened yet, or maybe you were holding on to something, a job, a relationship, an image of yourself. The tighter we grip onto something, the more tension we create. The Buddha taught that the root of all suffering is our attachment to desire, our craving for things to be a certain way. We seek comfort, safety, and control. But this craving, this clinging, is the very thing that causes us to suffer. Anxiety thrives on this craving, feeding on our fears of the future and the things we cannot control. Stay with us as we continue to explore how understanding these patterns can help you navigate anxiety, find peace, and transform your relationship with your thoughts. When we believe that we need things to be a certain way to be happy, we're setting ourselves up for constant anxiety. Picture this. You're holding a cup of hot tea. You're not thinking about it. You're just holding it. But suddenly, someone bumps into you, and the tea spills. What happens? You may feel anger or frustration. Why? Because you were holding the cup too tightly, expecting it to stay steady. Anxiety works the same way. We grip onto life, expecting everything to stay exactly how we want it. But life is unpredictable, just like the tea spilling from the cup. Things don't always unfold as expected. When they don't, we suffer. But here's the truth. The tea was never meant to stay in the cup forever. Just as we must accept that the tea will spill, we must also learn to embrace the unpredictability of life. In Buddhism, there's a practice called non-attachment. It doesn't mean we stop caring about the things that matter to us. Rather, it means we stop trying to control them or cling to them so tightly. It's about learning to flow with life, rather than fighting against it. The more we practice non-attachment, the more we allow ourselves to relax, releasing the anxiety that comes from trying to control everything. We begin to see that life is full of change, and change isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Anxiety often stems from a deep-seated belief that we must control everything around us. Whether it's our circumstances, relationships, or even our thoughts, the desire for control leads to suffering. Buddha taught that the key to ending suffering is to stop clinging to the things we can't control. When we release our grip on these things, we free ourselves from the storm of anxiety. Imagine you're in a boat on a rushing river. The current pulls you along. You could fight against it, struggling to control the boat's path, but you'd only tire yourself out. Or you could let go, allow the current to guide you, and move with the flow. This is what it means to let go of control. It's not about being passive. It's about trusting that life will unfold as it should, and finding peace in that trust. So how do we shift from a mindset of control to one of acceptance? It starts with awareness of our thoughts, our emotions, and how we respond to the world around us. The more we step back and observe our anxiety without getting caught up in it, the more we begin to realize that it's not as solid or permanent as it seems. Anxiety is just a collection of thoughts and feelings, and like the weather, it changes. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we stop reacting to our thoughts and emotions. Instead, we observe them with curiosity and compassion. This allows us to see our anxiety for what it truly is, just a passing thought, a fleeting feeling. No longer does it have the power to control us. As we deepen our mindfulness practice, we begin to recognize the patterns that cause our anxiety. We start to see the triggers, whether they're a situation, a person, or a recurring thought pattern, that lead us into a state of worry. And instead of fighting against them, we can break those patterns by simply seeing them clearly and letting them go. In Buddhism, there's a concept known as the three poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. These are the root causes of suffering. Greed leads to attachment and craving. Hatred leads to aversion and resistance. And ignorance leads to misunderstanding and confusion. Anxiety often arises from these poisons. We crave a certain outcome, we resist change, or we misunderstand the nature of life. By recognizing and letting go of these poisons, we can reduce our anxiety and find peace. Quieting the inner noise. The power of mindful awareness. Imagine sitting in a room filled with noise. Every sound, every movement pulls your attention in different directions. This is what it feels like when your mind is constantly racing, bombarded by thoughts, worries, and distractions. It feels impossible to focus, to find peace. You want to quiet the noise, but every time you try, it only grows louder. This is the daily experience for many of us. Our minds are a whirlwind, filled with thoughts about the past, fears about the future, and a continuous stream of worries. It's like trying to hold a handful of water. No matter how tightly you grip it, it slips through your fingers, leaving you feeling anxious, restless, and overwhelmed. But in Buddhism, there's a practice that offers a way out of this mental chaos: mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just about sitting quietly in meditation. It's about being fully present with whatever is happening in your mind and body without judgment. It's about noticing what arises in your awareness, observing it, and letting it pass, without getting caught up in it. At first, this may seem difficult. The noise of the mind can feel overwhelming. But the more we practice mindfulness, the more we learn to observe the thoughts and emotions that arise without becoming entangled in them. We begin to see them for what they are: temporary and impermanent. Mindfulness allows us to break free from the constant churn of our thoughts. Instead of being dragged along by every worry or fear, we start to experience moments of peace amidst the noise. With time and practice, we discover that we have the power to quiet the inner storm and find tranquility, even in the midst of chaos. At first, mindfulness may seem difficult. It can feel like you're trying to catch the wind with your hands. But as you begin practicing mindfulness, something incredible happens. The noise in your mind begins to quiet. You start to see the thoughts that once felt overwhelming for what they truly are: just thoughts. They are not permanent, and they do not define you. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is that it helps break the cycle of identifying with your thoughts. When you're caught up in your mind, it's easy to believe every thought you have. If you think, "I'm not good enough," or "I'm going to fail," your mind convinces you that it's true. But with mindfulness, you can step back and realize that these thoughts are simply passing clouds in the sky of your consciousness. They have no power unless you give it to them. Take a moment now to close your eyes. Notice your breath. Is it fast or slow? Shallow or deep? Just observe. Don't try to change it. Don't judge it. Just notice. With each breath, you are cultivating mindfulness. You're creating space between yourself and your thoughts. In that space, peace begins to grow. Mindful awareness isn't confined to meditation. It can be practiced in every moment of your day. Whether you're walking, eating, talking, or even washing dishes, by fully attending to what you're doing, you bring a sense of calm and clarity that helps reduce anxiety. By being aware of the present moment, you stop living in the past or worrying about the future. You start living in the now, where peace exists. But how does mindfulness really help with anxiety? The answer lies in how it changes your relationship with your thoughts. When anxiety arises, it's often because we're caught in the grip of worry, fear, or doubt. We imagine worst-case scenarios, and the mind spirals into panic. But with mindfulness, we can catch ourselves in that moment of anxiety and gently return our focus to the present. Instead of feeding the cycle, we interrupt it. We stop adding fuel to the fire of worry. In Buddhist teachings, it's said that suffering arises from our attachment to things, our desire for things to be different than they are. When we feel anxious, it's often because we are attached to a specific outcome or fear what might happen in the future. Mindfulness teaches us to let go of that attachment. It shows us that we don't need to control everything. We don't need to know what will happen next. All we need to do is be present, to be with what's happening right now. This doesn't mean anxiety will disappear completely. Life is full of uncertainty, and there will always be challenges. But with mindfulness, we begin to build a new way of responding to those challenges. Instead of reacting with fear or anxiety, we respond with awareness and calm. We learn to trust that no matter what arises in our minds, we have the ability to observe it, let it pass, and return to peace. Mindfulness is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. At first, your mind will wander, your thoughts will take over, and you may feel frustrated. But don't worry. This is part of the process. Each time you notice your mind has wandered, gently bring it back to the present moment. That is the practice of mindfulness. You may wonder, how do I bring mindfulness into my everyday life? Start small. Begin with simple moments, like eating a meal. Instead of rushing through it or thinking about something else, focus on the taste, the texture, the smell. Notice how it feels to eat and savor each bite. When you walk, pay attention to the sensation of your feet touching the ground, the feeling of the air on your skin. These small acts of mindfulness can help you reconnect with the present moment and create a sense of calm. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll start to notice a shift. Your mind becomes less cluttered, and your thoughts become less overwhelming. You begin to experience life more fully, without the constant background noise of anxiety. You learn to embrace the present moment just as it is, without needing it to be any different. Breaking the chain, letting go of craving and aversion. In life, we're often pulled in two directions, desire and fear. On one side, there's craving, the deep longing for something we believe will bring us happiness. On the other, there's aversion, the fear of something that we think will cause us pain or discomfort. These two forces, craving and aversion, bind us to suffering. They're like chains that keep us stuck, always chasing or fleeing, never truly at peace. Imagine how it feels when you're caught in craving. You desire something so badly that you think about it constantly. It could be wealth, success, approval from others, or even just the hope that things will be different. But no matter how much you chase these things, they always seem just beyond your reach. When we crave, we expect fulfillment. Yet the moment we think we have what we want, the craving shifts to something else. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through your fingers, leaving you with a feeling of emptiness. Now think of aversion. It's the opposite, but it comes with the same kind of grip on our hearts. When you feel afraid, when you try to avoid pain, when you resist something or someone, you create a wall between yourself and what is happening. You may think that by running from it, you can escape the discomfort. But in reality, you only prolong the struggle. Both craving and aversion are sources of anxiety. Craving keeps you chasing something that never brings lasting satisfaction, while aversion keeps you trapped in fear and resistance. The key to freedom is learning to let go of both, to release your attachment to desires and fears, and to open yourself to life as it is. When you do, you'll find the peace you've been seeking all along. Fear, much like craving, holds us tighter the more we try to avoid it. The more we resist discomfort, the stronger it seems to become. Fear grows when we feed it with resistance. Both craving and aversion arise from our ignorance of the true nature of life. We fail to realize that everything is temporary, constantly changing. When we crave or fear, we try to hold on to something that cannot be held. Life, by its very nature, is in constant flux. The happiness we seek, the things we desire, they're all fleeting. Similarly, the pain we fear, the struggles we wish to avoid, they too will eventually pass. The Buddha teaches us that to break free from suffering, we must stop feeding these forces. We must let go of craving and aversion, and instead learn to be at peace with what is. This is not an easy task. Our minds are conditioned to seek pleasure and avoid pain. But with practice, we can learn to observe these impulses without acting on them. When we stop craving and fearing, we create space for peace. We stop trying to control everything around us and instead allow life to unfold naturally. Imagine how it would feel to live without constantly chasing after something or running from what you fear. Imagine the freedom of simply being, accepting what comes and letting it go when it leaves. Buddhism teaches that the way to freedom is through mindfulness and awareness. When we are mindful, we notice our cravings and aversions as they arise. We observe them without judgment or the need to act. We simply allow them to be. In doing so, we create a space where they no longer control us. With each passing moment, we learn to let go, to release our grip on what we desire and fear. This doesn't mean we stop caring about things or people, nor does it mean we stop feeling. It means we no longer let our desires and fears rule our lives. We can still enjoy the things we love, but without the attachment that leads to suffering. We can still face challenges, but without the overwhelming fear that keeps us stuck. The path of letting go is not about becoming indifferent or numb. It's about being present with what is, without needing it to be anything more than what it is. When we let go of craving, we find that what we have is enough. When we let go of fear, we discover that we are stronger than we thought. We learn to trust life and trust ourselves. So how do we begin this process of letting go? The first step is awareness. The next time you find yourself caught in craving or fear, take a moment to pause. Simply notice what is happening in your mind. What are you craving? What are you afraid of? Just observe, without judgment. Recognize that these feelings are not you. They are passing states of mind, like clouds drifting through the sky. Then take a deep breath. Allow yourself to be present with what is, without trying to change it. Let go of the need to control or avoid. Trust that whatever you are feeling will pass. It always does. The breath as a bridge, anchoring the mind in the present. Anxiety often feels like a storm, raging and uncontrollable, pulling you in every direction and creating chaos in your mind and body. But amidst this storm, there is something you can hold on to, your breath. This simple, natural act of breathing, something you may not often think about, has the power to bring you back to the present moment and ease your anxiety. When anxiety strikes, it may feel like the world is spinning too fast. Thoughts rush in, and you feel as though you're falling further from peace. But if you stop and focus on your breath, you can anchor yourself. The breath has always been there, a constant companion, something you can rely on when everything else seems uncertain. Buddhism teaches us that much of our suffering comes from our attachment to the past and the future. We dwell on what has already happened, replaying mistakes and regrets, or we worry about what might happen tomorrow. This focus on the past and future pulls us away from the only moment we truly have, the present. The breath helps us return to that moment. It brings us back to the here and now. Imagine standing at the edge of a lake, watching the water. The surface is calm, reflecting the sky above. But then a stone is thrown into the water, creating ripples that disturb the surface. Your thoughts are like those ripples, ever moving, ever changing. But just as the water eventually returns to calm, your mind, too, can return to a peaceful state when you focus on your breath. The key is to notice the breath without trying to change it. Don't force yourself to breathe in a certain way. Just let your breath be. As you pay attention to the rising and falling of your chest, the coolness of the air entering your nostrils, and the warmth as it leaves, you start to calm your mind. The anxiety, which once seemed so overpowering, begins to lose its grip. This is mindfulness, the practice of being fully present, right here, right now. When you're mindful of your breath, you're not lost in thoughts of the past or future. You're simply breathing. You're simply being in the moment. There's no room for anxiety to take hold because you are grounded in the present. It's important to remember that this isn't something that will solve all your problems overnight. The breath is not a magic cure, but over time, as you practice breathing with awareness, it becomes easier to let go of the anxious thoughts that seem to consume you. With each breath, you create a small space in your mind where peace can grow. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to return to the breath when anxiety arises. You can practice this at any moment, while sitting in traffic, waiting in line at the store, or even when you're feeling overwhelmed at work. When you feel anxiety creeping in, simply close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath in, and then exhale slowly. Focus on the feeling of your breath entering and leaving your body. If your mind starts to wander, that's okay. Gently bring your attention back to the breath. The beauty of this practice is that it's always available to you. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. Your breath is always with you, always ready to bring you back to the present. When you are present, when you are grounded in the here and now, anxiety loses its power. It can no longer control your thoughts or emotions, because you're no longer lost in the future or the past. You're simply present. This practice of breathing also connects us to something much deeper than just our thoughts. It connects us to the body, to the rhythm of life itself. Every breath is a reminder that we are alive, that we are here in this moment. When we feel anxious, it's easy to forget this. Anxiety makes us feel as though we are separate from the world around us, as though we are alone in our suffering. But when we return to our breath, we reconnect with the body, with life, and with the world. We become whole again. In Buddhist meditation, there's a technique called anapanasati, or mindfulness of breathing. It's a simple practice, but incredibly powerful. As you breathe in and out, you observe the breath with full attention. You don't judge it. You don't try to make it deeper or longer. You just watch it, noticing the sensations in your body as you breathe. This practice is a way of cultivating mindfulness, which over time helps us to let go of attachment and find peace in the present. The breath teaches us about impermanence. Just as the breath comes and goes, so do our thoughts and feelings. When you're feeling anxious, it can seem like the anxiety will never end. But just as your breath flows in and out, so will the anxiety. It will come and it will go. You don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to make it last. You can simply let it be, knowing that it will pass. Breathing also helps us connect with the concept of non-attachment, a key teaching in Buddhism. We often get caught up in our emotions, especially anxiety, because we attach to them. We think that if we feel anxious, we must hold on to it, or that the anxiety defines us. But the breath reminds us that we are not our anxiety. We are not our thoughts. We are simply the observer, the one who notices the breath and the feelings that come and go. Over time, as you practice focusing on the breath, you begin to cultivate a sense of detachment, not from life, but from the constant pull of your thoughts. You realize that you don't have to follow every thought. You don't have to react to every feeling. Just like the breath, thoughts and feelings come and go. You don't have to hold on to them, and when you let them go, you find peace. This practice of breathing isn't just about calming the mind in moments of anxiety. It's a way of training the mind to be more present, more aware, and more peaceful. It teaches us to be with whatever is happening in the present moment, without judgment or resistance. When you can be present with your breath, you can be present with all aspects of your life, including your anxiety. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, when anxiety begins to tighten its grip, remember your breath. Pause for a moment, close your eyes, breathe in deeply, and then slowly breathe out. Feel the breath filling your lungs, and then feel the release as it flows out. Let this simple act bring you back to the present, where peace and calm are always waiting for you. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to find this peace, and the less control anxiety will have over your life. The breath, simple and ever-present, is your bridge to peace. It's a tool that is always with you, a steady companion in the face of anxiety. When you learn to use it, you discover that you have the power to find calm, no matter what storms may be raging around you. With every breath, you can return to yourself, to the present, and to the peace that is always there, just beneath the surface of your thoughts. Seeing clearly, the role of right view in emotional healing. When we look at the world, we often see it through the lens of our past experiences, our fears, and our hopes. Imagine looking through a dirty window. The world outside might be beautiful, but the view is blurry and unclear. This is how many of us experience life. Our minds are clouded with thoughts and judgments that distort the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Anxiety, too, comes from these distorted perceptions, from the way we view our emotions and reactions. The Buddha spoke of right view as part of the Eightfold Path, a clear and simple way to understand the world as it truly is. Right view is about seeing things without the layers of fear, greed, and attachment that often cloud our vision. It's about understanding reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. This is where true healing begins. When we learn to see clearly, anxiety loses its power over us. We stop reacting out of fear and instead respond with wisdom and compassion. Many people experience anxiety because they do not fully understand the nature of their thoughts and emotions. They think of their feelings as permanent or as something they must fix. But emotions are not fixed. They're like clouds in the sky, constantly changing. If we understand this truth, we can stop holding on to our anxiety, trying to control it or make it go away. Instead, we can simply observe it, letting it come and go without attaching to it. Right view teaches us that everything is impermanent. Our thoughts, our feelings, even our struggles. This understanding allows us to view our emotions with compassion, without letting them control us. The clearer we see, the less power anxiety has, and the more we can find peace, simply by letting things be as they are. They all pass, just like a storm that eventually clears. So too will our anxiety, if we allow it to run its course. This understanding helps us see that we don't need to be afraid of our emotions. They are not who we are. We are not our anxiety. We are the observer, the one who can watch these emotions arise and fade without getting caught up in them. In the same way, when we look at the world around us, we often see only what we want to see. We create stories in our minds about what's happening and how it will affect us. These stories are often full of fear and worry, but they are not the truth. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to let go of these stories and see things as they are. By looking at our situations without judgment or fear, we begin to see clearly. And when we see clearly, we can act with wisdom, not fear. For example, let's say you have an upcoming meeting at work that makes you anxious. Your mind might start racing with thoughts. What if I mess up? What if they don't like my ideas? What if I fail? These thoughts can create a sense of dread even before the meeting takes place. But if you practice right view, you can step back from these thoughts and see them for what they are, just thoughts, not facts. They're like clouds passing through the sky. You do not need to hold on to them. Instead, you can choose to focus on the present moment and approach the meeting with calm, knowing that whatever happens, you can handle it. When we practice right view, we learn to see the world without the distortion of fear or desire. We learn to see things as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. This, in turn, helps us let go of anxiety. We no longer feel the need to control every situation or worry about every outcome. We trust that everything is in constant change and that we are strong enough to handle whatever comes our way. Right view also teaches us to understand the nature of suffering. Anxiety often arises because we want things to be different than they are. We wish for life to be predictable, for our relationships to be smooth, for our job to be stress-free. But the truth is, life is unpredictable. It's full of ups and downs, moments of joy and moments of pain. When we try to control everything and resist the natural flow of life, we only create more suffering. But when we accept that change is inevitable, we can release our grip on the need for control. This doesn't mean we stop caring or trying. It simply means we let go of the fear that comes with expecting everything to be perfect. The Buddha also taught that we should see our own minds clearly. We all have patterns of thinking that cause us distress. Some of these patterns are deeply ingrained, and we might not even be aware of them. But when we begin to practice mindfulness and right view, we start to notice these patterns. We can see how our thoughts and reactions are connected to our anxiety. Maybe you always think the worst will happen, or maybe you have a deep fear of being judged by others. When you see these patterns clearly, you can begin to challenge them. You can remind yourself that these thoughts are not the truth. They're simply old habits that no longer serve you. When we apply right view, we stop seeing ourselves as victims of our circumstances. We stop believing that our emotions are out of our control. Instead, we see that we have the power to choose how we respond to any situation. Right view brings clarity and wisdom, allowing us to make choices that lead to peace, not anxiety. This is the essence of Buddhist practice, the ability to see clearly, to act with wisdom, and to find peace in the midst of life's challenges. As you continue on this journey, remember that right view is not something you can achieve all at once. It is a gradual process, a way of learning to see the world through a new lens. The more you practice mindfulness and meditation, the clearer your view will become. And the more clearly you see, the less power anxiety will have over you. Right view also helps us understand that we are not alone in our struggles. Everyone faces challenges. Everyone experiences anxiety. It's a part of being human. But by seeing clearly, we can also see that we are part of a much larger picture. We are all connected, and our struggles are shared by many. This understanding can bring comfort and compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we see the world clearly, we begin to see the beauty and interconnectedness of all things. Walking the Eightfold Path, a map toward inner peace. Imagine walking down a path. At first, it's unclear which way to go. In every direction, things seem uncertain, but as you take step after step, you begin to see the markers, the signs that guide you, showing you the way. In life, when anxiety and worry cloud our minds, we often feel lost. We may not know which way to turn. But Buddhism offers us a path, a guide, a map that leads us out of the storm of confusion and into peace. The Eightfold Path is that map, offering us a practical guide to navigating life's challenges with wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. By walking this path, step by step, we can find the clarity and peace we need to face life's uncertainties with confidence and calm. We all deeply desire peace, and the path to it is called the Eightfold Path. While it may sound complicated at first, it is actually a simple guide to living with wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It is not a destination, but a journey we walk every day, and each step brings us closer to inner peace. The first step on the Eightfold Path is right understanding. This means understanding life as it truly is, free from illusions or misconceptions. It means seeing the world with clarity, understanding that everything is impermanent, that suffering is a natural part of life, and that we have the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges. When we see things clearly, we stop holding on to unrealistic expectations, and we begin to accept life as it is. This acceptance is not about giving up, but about seeing things for what they are and making peace with them. Anxiety often arises because we resist life as it is. Right. Understanding teaches us that the way things are is the way they are meant to be. Next comes right intention. This is about setting the right intentions for ourselves. Intentions rooted in kindness, compassion, and wisdom. Too often our intentions are driven by fear, desire, or selfishness. We want things to go our way, and when they don't, anxiety takes hold. But when we set the intention to act with kindness and understanding, our actions begin to align with a deeper sense of peace. Right intention also means letting go of harmful thoughts and desires. It's about releasing the inner cravings that keep us constantly grasping for more, and instead cultivating contentment with what we have. When our intentions come from a place of love and compassion, we begin to see that we don't need to fight against life. We can embrace it fully, just as it is. Then comes right speech. This doesn't just mean speaking kindly to others, but also speaking kindly to ourselves. How often do we say things to ourselves that are harsh, critical, or unkind? Our internal dialogue can be just as damaging as anything we say to others. Right speech asks us to be mindful of our words, both spoken and unspoken, and to speak with compassion and truth. When we speak with honesty and kindness, we begin to break the patterns of negativity and anxiety that often arise from self-judgment and harsh words. Right action follows. This is about living ethically and acting in ways that align with our values. Our actions create our reality, and when we act with integrity and compassion, we build a foundation of trust and peace. When we act in harmony with others, we don't have to carry the weight of guilt or shame. Right action teaches us to choose actions that lead to peace, both for ourselves and others. It's about living with a sense of moral clarity and choosing to do what is right, even when it's hard. Right action helps us stay grounded in the present without being distracted by fears of the future or regrets from the past. Right livelihood is the next step. It's about choosing a way of life that supports your well-being and the well-being of others. In our modern world, many people are stuck in jobs or lifestyles that cause them stress and anxiety, often because they feel they have no other choice. But right livelihood teaches us that it's possible to live in a way that brings joy and balance into our lives. It's about choosing work that aligns with our values, where we can contribute to the world in a meaningful way without sacrificing our peace of mind. When we live in alignment with our purpose, we no longer have to chase after things that cause us anxiety. We can find fulfillment in the simplest of tasks, knowing that our work has meaning. Right effort is a step that reminds us to maintain balance. Effort is necessary for growth, but too much effort can lead to burnout, and too little can cause stagnation. It's about making the right amount of effort to cultivate good habits, while letting go of harmful ones. This balance is key to reducing anxiety. When we push ourselves too hard, we often fall into anxiety-driven thoughts. But when we give ourselves space to breathe, to rest, and to renew our energy, we begin to move toward a more peaceful state of mind. Right effort teaches us that it's not about pushing through everything, but finding balance in our efforts and understanding when to rest and when to act. Right mindfulness is about being present right here, right now. It's easy to get lost in worries about the future or regrets about the past, but mindfulness brings us back to the present moment. Anxiety thrives in the future. What might happen, what we fear, could come to pass. But when we are mindful, we drop that worry and focus on what is happening now. Right mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts, our feelings, and our surroundings without judgment, simply allowing them to come and go. When we practice mindfulness, we stop reacting to anxiety with fear or resistance. We simply notice it, breathe through it, and let it pass. Finally, right concentration is the practice of focusing our minds. Concentration helps us quiet the chatter of the mind and find stillness. When our minds are scattered, anxiety takes hold. But when we train our minds to focus, we begin to gain control over our thoughts. Right concentration involves practices like meditation, which allow us to quiet the noise of the world and connect with our inner peace. Through concentration, we gain clarity and the ability to see things as they truly are, without the distortions of fear or anxiety. The Eightfold Path is not just a series of steps. It's a way of life. It's about bringing wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline into every aspect of our being. When we walk this path, anxiety begins to fade. We learn to see things as they are, to act with kindness, and to live with purpose and mindfulness. We stop chasing after things that don't serve us and begin to embrace the simplicity and peace that comes with living in harmony with the present moment. As you walk this path, remember it's not about achieving perfection. It's about making progress, one step at a time. And with each step, you move closer to the peace you seek. The impermanent self. How letting go heals the heart. In this world, nothing stays the same. Everything is constantly changing. The weather shifts, the seasons change, and even our emotions rise and fall like the tides. Why then do we hold so tightly to the idea of a permanent self? Why do we carry this heavy sense of I or me, believing that we are fixed and unchanging? In truth, the idea of a permanent self is one of the root causes of much of our suffering, including anxiety. Imagine for a moment that you are holding a cup of hot tea. As you hold it, you feel the warmth of the cup in your hands, and you are aware of the tea inside. But if you grip the cup too tightly, your hand will start to burn. The more you grip, the more the heat hurts. But if you gently hold the cup without gripping too hard, you can enjoy the warmth without pain. The same is true with the self. The more we grip onto the idea of who we are, the more we suffer. But when we learn to let go, we find freedom. This concept is at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. We are taught that the self is not a fixed, unchanging entity. Instead, it is a collection of thoughts, feelings, and experiences that come and go. Our identity is not something permanent. It is fluid and ever-changing, just like everything else in life. When we hold on to this fixed idea of who we are, we trap ourselves in a cycle of fear and anxiety. We fear that we are not enough, that we will lose something important, or that we will be forgotten. We build walls around ourselves to try to protect this fragile sense of self. But the walls only make us feel more isolated and fearful. The first step to healing the heart is to recognize that this fixed self we cling to is an illusion. It is like trying to hold on to a shadow. No matter how tightly we grip, the shadow cannot be captured. It slips away, always just out of reach. And when we try to hold on to it, we cause ourselves unnecessary pain. Once we realize that the self is impermanent, we can begin to let go. Letting go does not mean losing ourselves or forgetting who we are. It means releasing the unnecessary attachment to a fixed identity, understanding that we are not defined by our past, our failures, or our mistakes. We are constantly changing, growing, and evolving. This is a beautiful part of being human. Consider the seasons as an example. The leaves on a tree do not resist when it is time for them to fall. They understand that it is simply a part of the natural cycle. In the same way, we must learn to let go of what no longer serves us, whether it is a past regret, a fear about the future, or a fixed idea of who we should be. We must let it go. By doing so, we free ourselves from the weight of these attachments and allow space for new growth. Letting go is not easy. It takes time, patience, and practice. The mind likes to hold on. It feels safer to cling to what is familiar, even if it causes pain. But as we practice letting go, we begin to experience the peace that comes with release. This peace is not the absence of difficulty or challenge, but rather the understanding that we do not need to control everything. We do not need to hold on to every moment or every thought. In Buddhism, this process is often referred to as non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean detaching from life or from others. It means not clinging to anything, not holding on to people, possessions, or even identities. It is a recognition that everything is temporary, and with this understanding, we can begin to experience life more fully, without the constant fear of loss. When we let go of our attachment to the self, we begin to experience a deeper sense of connection with others. We stop seeing ourselves as separate and isolated, and instead we see that we are part of the vast web of life. We are all interconnected, constantly changing and evolving together. This realization can bring great peace, for when we're no longer caught up in our own narrow sense of self, we can truly open our hearts to others. One of the most powerful teachings of Buddhism is the concept of emptiness. This does not mean that we are nothing or that life is meaningless. It means that we are not fixed, solid entities. We are empty of a permanent, unchanging self, and in this emptiness, there is vast potential. Just as an empty cup can be filled with tea, an empty heart can be filled with love, compassion, and wisdom. When we let go of the need to control or define ourselves, we open ourselves to the richness of life. We stop fighting against the flow of things, and instead we flow with it. We allow ourselves to experience each moment as it comes, without the heavy burden of expectation or fear. And in this freedom, we find peace. This freedom is not something that comes overnight. It is a process, a journey, but every time we let go, even just a little, we move closer to the heart of peace. As we continue on this path, we begin to experience less anxiety, less fear, and more joy. The practice of letting go is a gift we give ourselves. It is an invitation to stop clinging to the past and worrying about the future. It is an invitation to embrace the present moment, just as it is. When we let go, we stop fighting with life and instead begin to live in harmony with it. As we continue to explore Buddhist wisdom, remember that the key to healing is not in holding on, but in letting go. Letting go of the need to control, to define, and to cling to a fixed sense of self. By doing so, we open ourselves to the fullness of life and begin to heal the heart from the inside out. Let go of what you think you should be and simply be who you are. In that simplicity, you will find peace. The silence within, embracing meditation as a daily practice. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and listen to the silence. Not the kind of silence where you hear nothing, but the quiet that exists between your thoughts. Can you hear it? It's soft, peaceful, and grounding. This is the silence within, a space we often overlook, lost in the noise of everyday life. This silence is always there, just beneath the surface of the constant chatter in our minds. It is a space that, when accessed through meditation, helps us to connect with the present moment, find inner peace, and release the grip of anxiety. Through daily practice, this silence becomes a companion, always there, ready to bring you back to a state of calm whenever you need it. In meditation, we create space for the silence to grow. We learn to let go of the distractions of the outside world and come into deeper alignment with the present moment. Each breath becomes an anchor, gently pulling us back into that stillness, helping us to see clearly and release the worries that cloud our minds. Through this practice, we begin to experience the quiet that is always within us. Yet it is in this silence that we can find the greatest freedom. The freedom from the constant chatter of our minds, from the pull of anxiety, and from the worries that cloud our hearts. Meditation is a simple yet profound practice that invites us into this space of silence. It's not about achieving something or trying to be something you are not. Meditation is about coming home to yourself. It's about sitting quietly and observing the thoughts that arise without judgment. The world around you might be loud, chaotic, and full of distractions, but the silence within you is always there, waiting for you to notice it. When you sit down to meditate, there is no need to struggle or fight with your thoughts. You don't need to control the mind or make it stop. Instead, meditation teaches us to become aware of our thoughts without getting caught up in them. Just like clouds passing through the sky, thoughts come and go. They don't define us, nor do they have the power to control us. In this space of awareness, we find peace. Many people believe that meditation is only for a select few, that it requires years of training to be effective. But that's not true. Meditation is for everyone, no matter your age, background, or experience. In fact, it is one of the most accessible tools we have for managing anxiety and finding inner peace. Through meditation, we learn to slow down. We stop racing from one task to the next, and instead we focus on the present moment. This might sound simple, but in our busy lives, it could be one of the most challenging things to do. However, the more we practice, the easier it becomes. We start to notice how often our minds are elsewhere, thinking about the past or the future, and how rarely we are truly present in the here and now. The beauty of meditation is that it doesn't require any special equipment or a specific environment. You can meditate anywhere, in the comfort of your home, in a park, or even on the bus during your commute. It's not about where you meditate, but how you meditate. The key is to simply find a quiet space, close your eyes, and bring your attention to your breath. This breath is your anchor, the thing that keeps you grounded when everything else feels uncertain. With each inhale and exhale, you remind yourself that you are alive, that you are here, and that you are safe. In Buddhism, the practice of meditation is deeply tied to mindfulness. Mindfulness is the act of being fully present, aware, and engaged with whatever is happening in the moment. Whether you're eating, walking, or talking to a friend, mindfulness allows you to experience life more fully, without getting distracted by worries or regrets. Through meditation, you cultivate mindfulness. And as you do, you begin to see things more clearly. The noise of anxiety and fear becomes quieter, and the mind begins to settle. You no longer feel overwhelmed by your thoughts, but instead you observe them from a place of calm. As you continue to meditate, you will notice that your relationship with anxiety changes. It no longer has the power to pull you into its grip. Instead of reacting to every thought and feeling with fear or resistance, you begin to meet each experience with openness and acceptance. Meditation helps you to be with your anxiety, not fight it. And in doing so, it loses its hold on you. You no longer feel like you are at the mercy of your emotions. You begin to realize that you have the ability to sit with them, to understand them, and ultimately, to let them go. The peace you find in meditation extends beyond the time you spend on the cushion. As you meditate daily, you start to carry that peace with you into your everyday life. You begin to respond to challenges with a calm mind, instead of reacting with stress or frustration. Whether you're dealing with work pressure, family problems, or personal struggles, the tools you develop through meditation allow you to handle these situations with clarity and grace. Of course, like any practice, meditation requires patience. You won't immediately feel a sense of deep calm after your first session, and that's okay. The benefits of meditation come with time. The more you practice, the more you will notice subtle shifts in your mind and body. You will feel lighter, more centered, and less affected by the ups and downs of life. Meditation is not a quick fix, but a lifelong practice that deepens over time, providing you with a lasting foundation of peace. In the beginning, you might find it difficult to sit still for long periods or feel frustrated by your wandering thoughts. But this is part of the process. Meditation is not about achieving a perfect state of mind. It's about being present with whatever arises. The simple act of showing up each day and sitting with yourself is the practice, and with time, you'll begin to feel more comfortable in the silence, more connected to your true self. So how can you make meditation a daily practice? Start small. You don't need to meditate for hours on end. Even just 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a difference. Find a time that works for you, whether it's in the morning before you start your day or in the evening as a way to wind down. The key is consistency. The more you make meditation a part of your daily routine, the more natural it will feel. Remember, the goal of meditation is not to get rid of your anxiety or make your life perfect. It's about creating space within yourself to experience life as it is, without judgment or fear. Meditation teaches you to accept what is happening in the present moment, knowing that it is all temporary. Just like the clouds in the sky, everything passes. The good moments and the difficult moments are all part of the flow of life, and meditation helps you to be at peace with that. As you sit in stillness, remember that the silence within is always available to you. With each breath, you move closer to that silence, a place of peace, clarity, and connection with your true self. In this silence, there is no need to fight against the flow of life. Instead, you simply allow it to carry you where you need to go. In that stillness, you find the freedom and peace you seek. It's not something you need to chase or attain, but something you can return to again and again. In this silence, you will find your true self, the part of you that is not defined by your thoughts or emotions. This is where true peace resides, beyond the noise, beyond the anxiety, in the quiet space of your own being. So take a deep breath and know that you're already on the path. With each moment you spend in meditation, you are one step closer to discovering the silence within, and in that silence, you will find the peace you seek. Freedom from fear, integrating wisdom and moving forward. The time has come to reflect on everything we've learned, to look back on the wisdom we've uncovered, and to consider how this knowledge can transform our lives as we move forward. The journey we've taken together has not been about simply understanding concepts or reading a set of teachings. It has been about finding real peace right here, right now, in the midst of all the chaos and uncertainty that life brings. Throughout this series, we've touched on many different aspects of how to deal with anxiety, how to quiet the mind, how to understand the root causes of our suffering, how to let go of the attachments and fears that hold us captive. And now we find ourselves at the final step of the journey. It's time to realize that the path we've walked is not just a set of practices. It's a shift in how we live, how we think, and how we feel. The wisdom we've explored is not something to keep in our minds alone. It's something to integrate into our lives. If we reflect on everything we've discussed, we see a common thread running through it all: freedom. Freedom from the constant chatter of the mind. Freedom from the fear of what might happen, the fear of not being enough, the fear of loss. We've learned that these fears, these worries, are not the truth of who we are. They're just passing clouds in the vast sky of our true nature. The more we let go of these fears, the more we're able to tap into the deep, unshakable peace that lies within. The real challenge, however, is not simply knowing that peace is available to us. It's about putting this wisdom into practice, day by day, moment by moment. It's about choosing each time anxiety arises to meet it with understanding instead of resistance. It's about remembering the teachings we've learned and applying them when the world tries to pull us back into the spiral of fear. There will be times when anxiety still comes. There will be moments when you feel lost, when the mind races, when the worries flood in. But the key is not to fear these moments. We've learned that it's okay to feel these emotions. It's okay to acknowledge them. But we don't have to let them control us. We don't have to get caught in the cycle. Instead, we can meet each moment with a sense of openness, a willingness to simply observe what is happening without judgment. The practice of mindfulness has been a cornerstone of this journey. By staying present, by being aware of our thoughts, we break the cycle of unconscious reaction. In the past, we may have let anxiety drive our decisions, cloud our relationships, and shape our lives. But now we have the tools to choose differently. We can pause before reacting. We can breathe before speaking. We can simply observe the thoughts without becoming entangled in them. Letting go is another powerful lesson we've learned. We don't need to hold on to everything. We don't need to cling to the past, to old wounds, to expectations of how things should be. The more we hold on, the more we suffer. When we release our grip, we open ourselves to a new way of being, free, light, and at peace. Letting go does not mean we stop caring. It means we stop carrying unnecessary burdens. It means we stop letting the past dictate our present. In the Buddhist path, there's a deep understanding of the impermanence of everything. Nothing in life stays the same forever. Our feelings, our circumstances, our relationships, they all change. This is not something to fear, but something to embrace. When we understand that everything is temporary, we can let go of our attachment to things. We don't need to hold on tightly because we know they will change, and we can move with them. The Eightfold Path has guided us throughout this series, offering us a simple but profound way to live with greater peace and wisdom. We've seen how right understanding, right intention, right speech, and the other steps of the path can help us transform our relationship with anxiety and suffering. It is not just about thinking differently, but about acting differently, living with more compassion, more mindfulness, and more presence. One of the most beautiful teachings we've learned is the power of compassion. When we understand the nature of suffering, our own suffering and the suffering of others, we are moved to act with kindness. Compassion is not just about feeling sorry for someone. It's about truly understanding that we are all connected. When we can show compassion to ourselves, we open the door to healing. When we show compassion to others, we bring light to their darkness. As we move forward, remember that this path is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about taking one step at a time, knowing that every step brings us closer to the freedom we seek. The key is to keep practicing, to keep coming back to the breath, to the present moment, and to the wisdom we've gained. Life will continue to bring challenges, but we are no longer defined by them. We are no longer prisoners of our fears. We are free to live with peace, with clarity, and with love. Take a moment right now to reflect on what has shifted within you. Can you feel the difference? Do you notice the spaces of calm within the storm of your life? Hold on to these moments, for they are your true nature. They are who you really are, beyond the fears and worries that once held you back. Now, as we come to the end of this series, remember that the teachings of Buddhism are not meant to be a one-time fix. They are a lifelong journey. You will continue to grow, to evolve, and to find new ways of dealing with anxiety as you walk this path. But you are not alone. You have the wisdom to guide you, and you have the strength to keep going. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope that these teachings will help you live with more peace, more freedom, and more understanding. Take them with you and continue to practice. The path may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. May you find the peace that resides within you, and may that peace spread to all those around you.